Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're not just looking at the human body as a bunch of biology terms to memorize. No, we're looking at it as the absolute most advanced, complex piece of machinery on the planet. Think of it like a masterfully engineered vehicle or a highly efficient automated factory. Every single second of your life, countless microscopic systems are working in perfect harmony just to keep you moving, thinking, and thriving. So let's break down the actual mechanics of how you operate. Here is our blueprint for today. We're going to build this ultimate machine literally from the ground up. Framework and movement, processing fuel and air, the transport network, systems working together, and we'll wrap it up with some mind-blowing body facts. All right, Section 1, Framework and Movement. First things first, we've got to establish the basic chassis of our machine and the motors that actually power it. Let's start with a joint. This is the crucial point where two rigid parts of our chassis connect. Think about it. Without joints, our skeletal system would literally just be a rigid statue. The joint is what allows the whole machine to articulate, to bend, and to actually interact with the world. It's basically the biological equivalent of a heavy-duty hinge on a door or a pivot on a robotic arm. Now, to hold that articulating chassis together, we've got ligaments. You can totally think of ligaments as these heavy-duty structural cables binding bone directly to bone. They're what keep the joints stable, ensuring that when the machine moves, the whole framework doesn't just, fall apart on us. They're absolutely vital for maintaining our structural integrity. And here's something kind of wild. You might think of bones as just solid, dry support beams, right? But deep inside this rigid framework, we have bone marrow. This stuff acts as a hidden, incredibly active manufacturing center, and its main job is producing your blood cells. It's just crazy to think that your structural support is simultaneously moonlighting as a factory for the very cells keeping you alive. So the big takeaway here is that this framework definitely doesn't just sit there. The skeletal system actually juggles 5 massive jobs. It actively gives us our shape and form. It allows movement by giving our muscles something to actually pull against. It acts as heavy-duty armor for our internal organs, like your skull protecting your brain or your ribcage locking in your heart and lungs. It manufactures those blood cells in the marrow, and finally, it serves as a secure storage vault for essential minerals, like calcium. Talk about a multitasker. Now, to actually move that skeletal framework, we utilize 3 distinct types of motors, or muscles. First up, cardiac muscles. These are involuntary, running purely on autopilot, and they're found exclusively in your heart to keep it pumping. Then we have skeletal muscles. These ones are voluntary, meaning you're the one at the controls, and they're attached directly to your bones to drive movement and hold your shape. Lastly, we've got smooth muscles. Also involuntary, these guys operate entirely behind the scenes in internal structures, like your digestive tract and your blood vessels. Moving right along to Section 2, processing fuel and air. Let's shift gears and see how this machine actually generates the power it needs to keep running. Just like any high-performance vehicle needs gas, your body needs fuel. And the digestive system? It's literally a biological food processing factory. It runs this highly coordinated assembly line, starting at the mouth, down the esophagus, into the stomach, and through the small and large intestines to break down your raw materials. Digestion is just this meticulous process of breaking your food down into simpler substances so those crucial nutrients can be absorbed straight into your cells for energy. Meanwhile, our air exchange system is operating in this continuous, rhythmic, mechanical loop to manage our gases. The respiratory system's main gig is supplying oxygen and venting out carbon dioxide waste through the lungs. When you inhale, your diaphragm contracts and pulls downward while your rib muscles lift the rib cage up. This expands the chest cavity and literally vacuums air right in. Then, when you exhale, the exact opposite happens. The diaphragm relaxes, the ribs drop, the cavity shrinks, and all that waste air is mechanically forced right out. Okay, Section 3, the transport network. Now that we've got fuel and air, how do we actually deliver these supplies out to every single department in the body? Enter the circulatory or cardiovascular system. This closed-loop transport network is insanely efficient, relying on 3 main components. First, the heart, which acts as our powerful central pump. Second, the blood. This is the liquid cargo hauling all your oxygen, nutrients, and hormones, while also sweeping up waste materials. And third, the blood vessels. This is the vast, intricate map of tubular pathways, carrying that blood out to every single microscopic corner of your body and back again. So we've looked at the different departments on their own, but the true magic? That happens when they link up. Section 4, systems working together. let's see how these departments flawlessly integrate. Think about how the air exchange system directly collaborates with the transport network. It is a seamless handoff. The respiratory system's lungs pull in fresh oxygen from the outside world and instantly transfer it over to the circulatory system. From there, the blood grabs that oxygen and rushes it through the blood vessels to hand deliver it to every demanding cell in your body. Simultaneously, that exact same kind of partnership is happening with your fuel. The food processing factory, your digestive system, is working hard to extract and absorb essential nutrients. Once it's got them, it drops those freshly extracted nutrients right onto that very same circulatory transport network. The blood vessels basically act as superhighways, distributing all that raw energy to wherever the machine needs it the most. And circling back to our chassis, we can see exactly how the structural framework perfectly supports the motors. The skeletal system provides the rigid support and the jointed levers. Then, responding to lightning-fast signals from your brain, the voluntary skeletal muscles physically pull on those bones. They contract to shorten, they relax to lengthen, and boom, they create every single physical action you take, whether you're just standing up straight or running a full marathon. All right, to really appreciate the sheer scope of what we've just built together in this explainer, let's zoom out a bit. Section 5, mind-blowing body facts. We're going to look at the body by the numbers to truly grasp the staggering daily scale of this operation. First up, your body's rigid framework. This chassis that gives you shape, guards your organs, and acts as a hidden cell factory, it's constructed from exactly 206 individual bones. And to articulate that bony framework and keep everything humming along, from moving your limbs to churning your internal organs, it takes over 600 individual muscles, all of them pulling, contracting, and relaxing in perfect, synchronized harmony. Then there's your central pump, the heart. Talk about relentless dedication. To keep the transport network flowing, that single cardiac muscle beats over 100,000 times every single day. And the craziest part? It does this entirely on autopilot. You never even have to consciously think about it. Finally, the master computer running all of these departments, processing every signal, and basically keeping the whole machine alive, your brain. It is highly demanding. Despite its relatively small physical size, it hogs a massive 20% of your body's total energy output. So, this biological machine of yours is brilliant, it's automatic, and it's incredibly resilient. But at the end of the day, it is entirely up to you to maintain it. With all these complex systems working tirelessly together for you right under the surface, how are you fueling and caring for your ultimate machine today? Treat it like the masterpiece of engineering it truly is. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.